7 women in Virginia Beach caught up in a prostitution raid at 2 businesses this week. 10 of your side's Jason Marks has been looking into this case. Here's this report from Virginia Beach.
7 women arrested in Virginia Beach. Police say they were part of a prostitution ring being run out of 2 massage parlors.
It's great that they've been busted, but at the same time, it's very sad because we were working and basically living next to it this whole time, and nobody was doing anything because we didn't know for sure.
Police say Relaxation Station and Relaxation Palace are owned by Yali Kai. Officers say the women were flown in from China to New York and then bused to Hampton Roads. They tell us Kai would pick up the women late at night and bring them to the businesses where they lived.
We never saw the girls leave. That was the biggest thing. We knew that their girls were in there, but we never saw them come in the morning. We never saw them leave at night. They were here way after 8 o'clock. You know, everybody else was just like, something's not right here.
10 on her side dug through court paperwork. One employee lived at the business for a year. Another arrested here less than a month. One even got to Hampton Roads 4 days ago. They're all considered flight risks.
I've never seen an actual woman go in and get a service done. It's only been older men going next door.
And do they just keep coming in and out all the time?
In and out all the time. They'll be there for hours.
Police aren't saying much about the investigation, but those who work nearby say they're glad other women will now be safe.
Because it's a very sad situation when you truly think about it.
And you can see the door here at Relaxation Station is locked. I can tell you Kai actually had a bond hearing this morning, and she was granted a $20,000 bond by a judge. Now, the Commonwealth does believe she's a flight risk, so they're appealing that decision. So she'll remain in bars until that hearing next week in circuit court. The other 6 women are still in jail tonight, all being held without bond. That's the latest here in Virginia Beach. Jason Marks, 10 on your side.
Okay, so y'all just heard that story right there. And yet again, we have the model minority community, well, at least the women in it, running these quote unquote parlors. Now, y'all remember I just did a video coming out of Nevada where you had a Asian man and woman running an illegal brothel in a section of the county that's not where it's not legal to host prostitution, or where prostitution isn't legal. And what they were doing out there, I'm sure that these women right here were doing the same exact thing, much like that parlor down in Georgia that got shot up. Was it last year? Yeah, I believe it was last year. Now here you have 7 women, 7 Asian women running a whole prostitution ring out of 2 different locations. And sometimes it's all in a name, because the name of the business was called the Relaxation Station. And that's a real place, because I actually Googled it to see if I could find more information about this place. And it turns out this place has its multiple locations. It's not just in Virginia Beach, because the one I found is nowhere near Virginia Beach. But this is literally what they tend to do and engage in all the time. I'm surprised their numbers under prostitution under the FBI crime stats isn't higher than what it is. But then again, they still make up a very small portion of the population. But then sometimes it doesn't get reported. Every single time there is an incident going on involving these parlors, and an Asian person is attached to it, I think it's almost safe to assume that it's usually something like this that is happening or going on. Now, you heard the woman that they were talking to. She worked at one of the businesses that was near there. They have her labeled down as a witness. She would say that they will see the girls come in but never see them leave, or they'll see mainly men come in there, but not women customers. And they'll be in there for hours, because, a massage should not take hours to do. It shouldn't take hours to do. So we know that they're going in there for more than just a massage. They're going in there for an extremely happy ending and probably everything under the sun in that parlor. They said that they would fly these women from China, from over in China, probably the slums in China, of all ages, might I add, because I wouldn't be surprised if some of those women were actually girls under a certain age and were basically pimping them out. Like they were basically being human trafficked for the pleasures of these men. And I always told you, whenever it comes to these parlors and how they are ran with them, it's usually the women. It's usually the women who are the ones who are the face of it as far as running it or running the operation. Now, this woman right here, she was the ringleader. This one right here, she was the ringleader. They said in the audio, in the report, that they said she's a flight risk. So they are appealing the decision of her giving her a bond, which I think is smart. They also said that the other 6 women do not have a bond because they could possibly be a flight risk as well, meaning they could probably try to flee the establishment and head back to China to avoid whatever happens to them and probably try to seek asylum. So they don't need a bond. That's why I always say in a lot of my videos, a lot of these people that get these bonds don't need them because they are flight risk. They might run. They might try to flee, especially if they know what could possibly happen to them. And the thing is, they know the risk of running, because if they get caught, now they're going to have even more issues on their hands than they already previously had. But I have to ask yet again to the Asian American community, or the AAPI, what do you have to say about this? I know it must get tiring of having to hear or see this kind of news, which seems to be now on a weekly basis. But a lot of these groups have nothing but smoke for black people with every chance they get, but they have this going on in their own community where you have women out here. Oh, and I guess you can throw the women's groups in there. Where are those women's groups at? Because, you know, Women's Lives Matter, or whatever hashtag they want to use with a nice pink ribbon that day. Like, where are they at? Don't their lives matter? Like they said that these women would come into the parlor at 4 a.m. when the businesses are closed and nobody's around, and they would just stay there. They would never, ever see them leave. They would just go in, but never leave. Almost like the Roach Motel. The roaches check in, but they don't check out. That's the kind of thing it is. The only people that would check in and check out were the men that would come in there for hours and then leave after a certain time. Like the witness said, they said some of these men would leave out of here after hours, like late. So they was having themselves a good time, a good old time. And I bet you any amount of money that the vast majority of these men were PC. I can almost guarantee. Remember Bob Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, when he got caught or was a part of that bust for that parlor down in Florida, again, an Asian ran parlor where I'm sure the ones running it was women. But of course, nothing happened to him. They don't even talk about that no more. But yeah, again, every time that there's a parlor or a massage parlor, quote unquote, this is most likely what is going on behind the scenes. Like, I think if people are probably saying, unless these are people who are doing the person's nails in these nail shops, don't go into one of them parlors, because 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. And the thing is, we should have saw this back in the early 2000s with the movie Rush Hour 2. Remember in Rush Hour 2 when Carter and Lee had went to that massage parlor, quote unquote, and it was basically a happy ending spot? Yeah. And they were actually weren't they actually over there? I believe they were actually there in the midst of it, if my memory serves me correctly. But of course, that was just a movie. But the thing is, this is real life. This actually goes on. And that also tells me that prostitution in those Asian nations is very high. The fact that they flew in these women on a plane, like they were cargo, to go to this one spot to keep business booming lets you know that the prostitution over there is exceedingly high. I was just curious. I had to type it in. I wanted to know, was prostitution legal in China? And I'm not surprised by these results. It says officially prostitution is illegal in mainland China. It says in mainland China, which means it could possibly be legal other places. It says the government of China has vacillated, however, in its legal treatment of prostitutes, treating them sometimes as criminals and sometimes as behaving with misconduct. So it's almost like the punishment is very lenient when it comes to them. Like they're not going to harshly punish them. But now I can see why why they bring it over here. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that would be deemed illegal means there's going to be an influx of it. But I was just curious because I needed to know, was prostitution legal in China? Because the way that they be doing it over here, you would think that it's legal over there. But to my shock, to my surprise, it's illegal over there, which definitely explains why they consistently and heavily do it over here. But notice they have to do it in secret. They have to do it in secret. And these parlors is what they're doing and how they're doing it. But to me, what that also says is they need to have these parlors under more heavy surveillance. Because the fact that they keep doing it and they keep getting away with it means that they are just so, it's almost like they're turning a blind eye to what is actually going on. Because every time there's a story about these parlors, it's always going back to prostitution happening there. And it's crazy because they literally keep these women and sometimes girls stuffed in these broom closets, and they just like pluck them out. Like I said in my previous video, they just pluck them out when they need them and then send them back when they're done, and they don't leave. And a lot of times they get treated very badly. Like sometimes they barely eat. They barely get any sleep. They get treated like trash. And again, it's mainly the women that are running these rings. And again, it's human trafficking. You can't tell me that. I mean, think about it. They flew them over here on the plane. And that's crazy. You know, it's crazy because they shut one down, but then another 5 will pop up. So all I'm going to say is this. If you come across one of these massage parlors and it's Asian owned, I can almost guarantee that it's something fishy going on in there. I don't want to make the blanket statement and say, make it an absolute thing. But let's be real with ourselves here. There's a pattern. Y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you were new, hit that bell to be notified. If the bell for whatever reason is not working, I upload my videos in a Premiere style format, which means that the notification button is in either the bottom left or bottom right of the thumbnail, and you should be able to get the notification that way. The links will be down in the description. I will talk to you in the next one.